All right, hey everyone. I'm here today with Clifton Erickson. We're going to get a little bit to know about him, what he's got going on, what he's going to have in the future, and a little bit exciting because right now he's on the cusp of a very big, important match for his progression. So I think we're going to learn a lot. So just to get started with everyone, for anyone who doesn't know you, where do you arm wrestle out of? Who are some of the guys in your club?
So Cliff Erickson, I arm wrestle at Bismarck, North Dakota.
Mm.
This February will be 15 years that I've been pulling.
15.
Yeah, and then my arm wrestle with Nathan Johnson, Ian Johnson, Jake Houston, all of us kind of our little group that we got. We got like 6 people that we have arm wrestled together, and that's about it.
Dude, and everyone in your club is like, they're all killers. Like, no one's a pushover. Some of the top ranked guys in all their classes. I know Ian made the top 15 this year. And I'm not sure where Nathan stands, but he has to be pretty high ranked, I'd imagine. And then obviously I think you broke out. I mean, with your last match with Jamie Sheldon, that probably puts you top 10 now. For sure.
I hope. Yeah, I think it definitely puts me in a realm to where more looked at again.
For sure. Yeah, no, your club is great. What do you think, like, is with having such a small club, what do you think makes you guys all progress so much faster than most other groups, especially even much larger groups?
It's kind of a double-edged blade, honestly, to me, because I feel like, you always want to have the more hands, the better. You get to feel different things. Everybody has different moves, different pressure. You adapt it across the board. And realistically, the thing that I like about us is that, we have a couple guys who top roll, different variations, and we have a couple guys who hook, different variations. And other than that, if we want to have pressures in different areas for people that are going to be at different tournaments or different super matches, stuff like that, we hook up weights and everything to our wrists, or we hook it up to our hands or bands. So for instance, recently I've pulled Nathan Johnson to where I'll pull weight over in my hand and still arm wrestle him weighted. So that tacks your fingers, your cup, doing everything like that. Nathan does the same thing. We'll do stuff to where we know that where his fault is a little bit of rise. So we'll have bands hooked up to him and have somebody pull.
Same with me. Mm-hmm.
While he's arm wrestling somebody to equalize that and to work it even more. So the benefit of the smaller group of guys, honestly, is that we have practice starts at 7 and we get out at 10:30. So with 6 dudes, I pull probably 50 to 70 matches in a night.
Wow. Yeah.
And then afterwards, then most of the time everybody hates it because I'm the guy who pushes this on everybody. But after everybody's pulled and they're spent, then I go, okay, time for lift challenges. Now we got to do lifts.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Yeah. We did that a couple times. See, normally our practices, they'll go from about 6 to 8, where the first kind of people start leaving about 7:30. And then there might be a few people who stick around a little bit longer, but yeah, definitely nothing to that extent for sure. I don't think we've ever there's been some like after pools, where like it went on for hours, but yeah, if that's like your guys' normal, and do you guys meet pretty often, like once a week? Or
Yep, every Wednesday it's 7 to 10 o'clock, and we get the same. Our main crew of guys right now is Devin. You guys might have met a little bit in Montana. He's actually coming up. He's doing pretty well. He's pretty much every tournament that he goes to that has Hunter Broughton in it, he takes second. So he's moving up, and he's not even a year in.
We were talking about him in the interview I did with Hunter a couple days ago.
Okay. Yeah, he's coming up. So our main guys is Devin, Ian, Nathan, Jake, and myself. We'll get 3 stragglers that come in once in a while that we can practice with, show stuff, have more arms just to grab on. But it's yeah, man, it's a killer workout. There's no low intensity whatsoever.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's one thing, like I said, I feel like I've noticed is that everyone in your group seems like when they show up to tournaments, they don't really fade like everyone else does. They stay strong. So that can attest to your long practices and everyone being dedicated and pulling hard consistently, because yeah, I think in one of the podcasts or something where we were talking about it, I told people that, it's someone like Petley on his left. Like, I know Nathan's left isn't the same, but I know that Nathan's not going to fade round to round,
Right.
whereas Petley might have a little bit more power in his left on that first round where I'm not even sure he's going to get that pin, but I know that over 5 rounds, I feel like it's like impossible for him to lose, to be honest.
Yeah, he's definitely Nathan. It's crazy, man. That guy, when he gets into hook, I mean, I get it. I'm a hook puller, but he gets into these grinder hook battles where he's like dug in super, super deep, and he'll do that the entire tournament. Even like towards the end of the tournament, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna try not to give inside. I'm gonna kind of go somewhere else. But he's got probably, I would say he's the best, if not tied with the best stem on our team.
Yeah, and that's actually brings me to a curious point I wanted to talk to you about, because one thing I feel like is a little bit different with the way that you pull. Like, let's say you can definitely see the inspirations in Nathan's style from like where he may have started, with more imitating your style before getting his own. Like, you could see the little bit of similarities there. But now one of the things I noticed about Nathan that I really like is like he's really almost like a Todd Hutchings, where he's really good at keeping that hand line and everything like really in and coming over to this like almost sideways with it.
Right.
Whereas I feel like with you and kind of like the way I pull too, we don't get as sideways. It's more of kind of like pulling over through, almost like keeping the chest open a little bit. What do you think is there pros and cons to both? Or do you think that there's like a way that's maybe the right way, quote unquote?
So when Nathan first started, so him and Ian both are 5 years in. They started the exact same. That's how I always pulled was, I never went low, but went high. And I was strict side pressure pulling across. I never pulled back. And only within this last 3 years, I started more going like this and pulling back. Now, I would say some of the benefits with side pressure, I'm a huge center table control guy. And that's one thing that Nathan says with me is that if I'm sitting here like this, I mean, it's really hard to move me this way, because that's what I want. I want this all the time. When I was across, same thing, center table control. Once you start moving back, I feel like you lose a little bit and you gain more in the hand leverage, So I mean, it's really a horse apiece, man. I feel like there's benefits in both areas. But now it's actually funny. We just had this conversation on Wednesday, me and him, is that now he's starting to do way more side pressure and I'm starting to do way more diagonal pressure. And it's working for him, man. I mean, that low hand strict side, I never even did that. I never got in here like this and just side. I was always hooking like this straight side. I mean, you've seen some videos. I hook sideways, but I'm in the hand. I'm not like that.
Yeah, you're not wrist on wrist. Well, like you're not really crashing down as much with the bone structure. You're just kind of coming straight through. Yeah, the hand.
Yeah.
And
he's pretty phenomenal when it comes to that hook. I bet you in 2 years, he's a reckoning now. I bet you in 2 years that guy's going to be stupid.
Yeah. No, it's like I said, I feel like everyone in your group is just super consistently just going up and up, So now with what you were saying too about kind of changing your style a little bit with your elbow placement on the pad, are you the type of person that likes your elbow to always be in the same spot? Or are you someone where you will change based off of what you feel in the setup, kind of where you place your elbow?
I like to change where I'm in the setup, especially what I'm going to do, especially with a couple things that I've been learning from Corey Miller. I've been doing a lot of stuff up front left-hand corner, actually.
Left-hand corner
when I'm right-handed. Yeah. So, and it's actually been pretty sneaky tricks. Maybe you'll see it on February 8th if I can get it in there. But
right.
It just depends on the move and the pressures that guys give me. It depends.
So,
and you got your little pad here. Sitting here is one thing. Going like this, hooking. Now we go front left-hand corner. I mean, especially if you want to swoop, which this isn't the move, but if I'm front left-hand corner, now I got 6 inches of movement. So if I want to really go back, now I can really come back to 7 out rather than somebody 7 out like this. Now I can here in 7, so they have their route.
Well, that's one thing I definitely wanted to say, because I feel like most hook pullers that I see, they set up on the front right corner. And for me, that's what I did for a long time because it felt like it gave me more time to catch. But now that my wrist and hand is getting stronger and I'm supinating people over without needing the defense, I feel like that's a big mistake because you're giving up almost like the first 2 inches of pressure because your elbow's not anchored further over. And I think it's just really important to, for me anyway, I live and die by my shoulder. If I get that shoulder forward, it's like I feel like I can hang in there with pretty much anybody. But, if they can just knock me out of it right away. And that's what I noticed, people could really, if you go up on your B side, your right corner, that, I think there's almost comfort in the defensiveness of it, but I think it makes you work so much harder for the win that it's just not worth it. Would you say that there's some truth in that, or do you think that there's, merit for being on that kind of backside of the pad?
Well, I feel like too that, because primarily I'm front right. Well, in the way beginning, I've always been front right. And then I started moving slowly. Now I'm probably about 2 inches from the front right over here. I would say it all depends on your move set. Like front right, I feel like exactly what you said. You said it spot on. Defensive arm wrestling, trying to rise and block hand, I feel like front right is really good. If wanting to have more center table control, you go further over because you want this blockage up into the palm. As long as your containment here is good, we want blockage up like that. Here, I'm blocking more, trying to block up high. So there's definitely, it's all going to be in your style. I like using both. I mean, Nathan's more of he's front right, but he's off to the left again because he's trying to be center table dominant.
Okay.
Yeah, and too, you got to look at too. If I'm back here, look at my travel. If I'm front right, my travel to go like this to get here. Now, if I'm centered to the pad, I might not have to go like this. I might be able to just go like this. You know what I mean? I know it looks, rather than going forward commitment with your shoulder, do forward with your elbow. So we're not this, we're doing this. So it's different movements, This way, I'm not going to pop off the pad. I'm at right-hand side. I can't do that.
Yeah, no, I just think it's so interesting that there's just so people, and I'm one of the ones included, just underestimate how much depth there is to the skill set in arm wrestling, where, you feel like you just, your first day on the table, you're like, okay, I'm going to put my elbow in the center of the pad. I'm just going to grip and go straight sideways, but then it's just on a month-to-month basis, you feel like you're just almost relearning a whole new skill set because something as little as where your elbow is changes everything in your hand and your wrist control and, capping, not capping. Like there's so many different variations.
Even with gripping, when you grip, gap in the hand on the back. So when you're gripped up like this, the gap here being tight, doing low, being up high, doing low, being up high. Like a lot of people don't like doing that. But if you want to get height, go super low in the hand with a dumped wrist and crank up like that. So you're in the hand and you're controlling palm. Like you're exactly right, man. Like arm wrestling is 1/4 and 1/2 inch movements. That's what it is.
Very small, yeah.
And look at how many 1/4 and 1/2 inch movements you can make from this position to this position.
No, I mean, I think if someone really zoomed in on the hands during the grip up and they just saw all the tiny little adjustments, someone kind of brings up their knuckles a little bit, then the other person tries to match and bring down, or, if it's someone who's worried about their rotation, they're just like moving down lower and trying to crush down on their, wrist bone. And there's just so many, I feel like once we really get it down and once we get some really good like commentators and play-by-play guys, I think people will be like, there's going to be always something to be talking about that it's really going to start sucking in fans and getting them to notice that there's hey, this thing isn't just a, grip and rip type ordeal like most people think. There's actually depth to it, and it's super interesting, and you can just get caught up in all the what ifs of, if I just, went a 1/4 inch out instead of, coming in more, and then you just go over so many scenarios in your head where even if it didn't look that close, that there was a way to get in the match. And yeah, it's just super interesting to me. I just the depth of arm wrestling continues to amaze me every year that goes by.
Oh, yeah. Dude, even at 15 years here, I'm always learning something new every day. Like that, every time we arm wrestle, I feel like there's something I'm like, oh, shoot, if I do a half inch this way and I put my elbow here, I give these pressures against people who do this style or these pressures against me. Okay, awesome. I mean, like, you're always going to learn something. Learning the moves consistently throughout the years is one thing. That's awesome. Those moves to where you can repeat them. That's the hard part.
Yeah, making everything repeatable is like one of the biggest training elements that I think people miss, where you just see just randomly, oh, what feels good today? And they're just doing things randomly, and they're not, taking into like, progressive overload, or just like, again, like you said, the repeatability of, okay, this feels like how I arm wrestle, so I need to do this until this gets easier. And, there's just so many things that, if I could go back, 2 years and change up a couple little things, then I totally would. If there was one big element, like whatever your biggest training philosophy or element is right now, that you could go back and think that it would make the biggest difference in your progression, what would it be?
Become a top roller again.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just talking to Brian about that last night.
When I started arm wrestling, I never hooked. I was all top roll for the first 4 years of arm wrestling. I never hooked at all. And then in, it was 2014, 14. So it's 3-4 years. Hurt myself South Dakota States in my wrist, and I couldn't top roll anymore. And I didn't, you know how I am with training. Like, I never take a break, and everyone, oh, let it heal. I'm like, no, I'm not healing. We're going to switch it up, and I'm just going to keep on going. Started hooking, and it just worked. It never went away. Now, would I be the arm wrestler I am today if I didn't start hooking? I honestly don't think I would be. I don't think
Really?
as far as I am. If I was a top roller, I put the same motivation, same grind now to top rolling, maybe. But I feel like the strength side is a very good thing. And I've been starting to now get back into top rolling and controlling,
Yep.
the hands. So
It's always something to have good in your tool book, especially if you like to pull tournaments, because if you can beat someone in a tournament with the top roll, you 100% should, because it's going to save so much energy and so much damage on your structure that, someone, if your first 1 or 2 matches you win with, even if they're easier matches, I feel like hooking always takes something out of you just because you're going through that elbow, So yeah, that's the same. Brian and I were talking about that last night, where like, if you can top roll someone, you owe it to yourself to do it, just because it's going to save your elbow,
right.
It's definitely the smarter way to arm wrestle, but my leverages, and I think probably you'd agree that your leverages just suit going inside better,
Right. Yeah.
getting your shoulder forward.
I mean, it's, I like it. I like it quite a bit. And plus, wait, come on.
It feels manly. Manly.
Family to be able to go in, it's power versus power. Like, okay, are you stronger than me or stronger than you?
It's like, for me, it's like, who wants to give up first? Because most of the time it's just like, you're just bone on bone, structure on structure, just like, okay, who's going to give up?
Right. Yeah. It's
so it's so satisfying. I mess with the guys in my crew, and I said, well, my cupping is so good now that I'm going to force you guys to arm wrestle me like men on the inside. So,
well, another thing too is, a lot of people that disagree with me about this, but I like, so like when I train like my top rolls and stuff like that, I'm never, and I think I've had this conversation with you before. I don't train top rolls to do the move. All of outside of hooking is to stop the move. So if I know that I go against, we'll just say John Theron. I know John Theron's got a good freaking hand. He's going to try to top roll me. My move isn't to try to top roll him or anything like that. My thing in my one, of course, try to counter it if I can. If not, it's be to stop his move. So all of my top roll stuff, when I practice, these are my movements. I'll start flat like that. I'll start losing like that. Because in reality, if you look at it, look at how Devin does his lifts, we'll say. He does his lifts and he moves them this much, and he's like, yep, that counts as a lift. So if you look at it like that, which I don't like that way of training, but Devin's way better than me, so he can do whatever the hell he wants. But
at his level, that those little movements matter more for sure.
So if you look at his way of looking at it, you can't tell me that if I'm here, I put if you're giving me 130 pounds of top roll pressure, and I can give you 130 pounds like this, not fully moving to pin you, but to block your move, you can't tell me it's not going to block you. It's going to.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
and the reasoning why I did that was because I'm so strong in the hook and different variations in hooking that I just want to stop, because I know if the hand stops, 99% of the time I will put you in my hook. You know, because that's my other thing. I'm training cup like crazy.
Yeah.
Cupping.
That's my main concern right now too, for sure. But that I'm actually glad you brought all that up, because the number one thing I wanted to talk about tonight, and I've been waiting to see if anyone else brings it up, so I'm not so sure people are thinking about this, or maybe it's just because I pay so much attention to what's happening regionally. But the most interesting storyline in the whole arm bender to me is in you and John's match, and the reason that that's the case is because I feel like it is almost like the classic, the hard worker versus the natural, you know? And not to say that, you know, John in his, you know, private life doesn't work hard, but he just arm wrestles, you know? He doesn't, I feel like I've heard a million times that he doesn't do any specific training or anything for it. He just arm wrestles. He just shows up and arm wrestles. So it's, yeah, like it's the hard worker versus the natural, you know?
Yeah, and they used to do that. They say that all the time. And in Mr. Olympia, you know, Phil Heath used to always say it to his competitors, it's natural, natural born talent versus somebody who overworks hard. Phil Heath used to always say that he had the natural born talent, and they'd work, be the harder worker, but they wouldn't get the progress. So I like that, actually. That's going to motivate me there a little bit, because I would say that I definitely put in a lot of work in arm wrestling, especially this one.
And I think it's a really interesting storyline in arm wrestling in general, because there's so much debate between, you know, like what's important in arm wrestling, or how much does the gym stuff count. Like you always see like people, like you'll post a video and there's always that one guy, you know, it's like that, you know, gym strength doesn't matter for arm wrestling or whatever. And it's like, for me, it's so clear, like when I do certain things, then I start seeing progression on the table. And then but people are so adamant about just not needing that gym time, not needing the cable lifts, not needing all the other stuff, you know, they just show up and do your table time. And I just think that, you know, maybe there are some people who can excel like that, but to me, it's like, well, what if John did the same stuff that you did in the gym? Would he be better? It's like, it's almost unfathomable for me to think that he wouldn't be, you know?
Right. Well, and you look at, you know, Jody Williams said it actually pretty good on one of his podcasts. He posted a thing that was talking about John Brzenk was all table time. That's what he wanted. Todd Hutchings, I'm not doing anything different than what Todd Hutchings is doing. The only thing is that probably tracks is a little bit better than mine, and they're going hard.
He's crazy methodical with it.
But he is, you know, he's doing gym lifts primarily. Dave Chafee back in the day was a lot of bands and pulleys. That's what
yeah, he never does table time. He does it like once every 2-3 months. Yeah,
exactly. So I mean, I feel like they're high caliber arm wrestles in going any direction. Which direction will prevail the other one? I don't know. I feel like if I would do table time, considering small group of guys that I have, if I was like just 100% table time, nothing outside of practice, you know, even if I had to go put a practice at twice a week, we didn't do anything, I don't think I'd be as good as I am now. I don't. I mean, just because I don't have enough guys. And if I don't have enough guys, I can't be the 100% table guy. Now, John, I know he has a lot of people to train with. He's hitting tournaments constantly all the time. So maybe it is adequate enough for him to do that. Now, I can tell you fucking right now, come February 8th, we will find out if it's what he's doing or what I'm doing. You know? So.
Yeah, and I understand too that there's some people who have jobs that they do stuff like I understand that something with his job, you know, kind of helps train his hand and forearms a little bit or in some way. But yeah, no, just to me, and I think the gym also builds a lot of confidence, because like when you hit PRs and stuff like that, it feels good. And then that makes you feel more confident, prepared, because you just know you're stronger, you know?
Yeah. I'm arm wrestling training right now, Andrew. I mean, I think I've said this one to you. I've sent it to a bunch of people. So I have practice Wednesdays, chest and shoulder, just gym on Thursdays, in between 4 activities, 4 sets, And I do reps of 8 to 12 always, and I do super pyramids. So you're always going up on weight every set. In between every set, I do an arm wrestling workout for 10 reps. And I do that Thursday, Friday's back. I do the same thing there. 4 activities, 4 sets. In between all the sets, arm wrestling workout. Arm day is, or legs is on Saturday. Legs, same thing in between there. Arm wrestling workout. Sunday is arms. I do arm workout, bicep, tricep, and then arm wrestling workout in between. And then not only that, then I go to work. I have 5 stations set up at my office desk at work. And I do
gosh.
Monday through Friday. And I do little 5-minute segments throughout the entire day. So I'm doing 10, 15 sets all day long. I just sent Dakota Shipton actually today all the crap that I did just today. And I repeated it like 5, 6 times. Like, it's just, I love doing that stuff. And the thing is with it is that, and I'm probably talking you off here, but people want
to go.
They're going to find out. I am always running at 70, 80%. And that anybody who talks to me, I go to practice. So I'm doing this stuff at practice. I'm pulling Nathan Johnson with weighted stuff in my hand, and I'm running 80%. Mm-hmm. So I'm always like that. Now, when it comes time to game day, like even practice or even tournaments, when I did tournaments this year,
try to stay below the red line.
More as a practice. I wasn't going, I mean, of course I'm going there to try to win and kick some ass, but I'm not like, okay, I'm going to step back 2 weeks before all that. No, I lifted weights all the way up until like the Tuesday before the tournament. And then I would do blood flow for like 3-4 days and then go and do the tournament.
Yeah.
So like now, like Jamie Sheldon last year, I switched everything up. I took 2 weeks off of I did the second week up to the match was gym lifts and then blood flow for arm wrestling. And then the last week was just blood flow, no gyms, no gymming at all. And it worked out awesome. I showed up 100%. And I'm going to do the same thing here. I will show up 100%. And then you see all my freaking crap that I post and I send you and I send everybody. I'm not afraid to post everything. Everybody knows what I'm doing. They know what I'm lifting. John can go online and see everything I've lifted. So I'm not hiding anything. All of those things that I'm maxing on, you go and look, I do 2 to 6 reps of my max. So is it really my max? Do we really know the potential of where Clifton fucking Erickson's at? We don't.
No, not unless you're hiding those maxes from us.
That's about, once John watches this, he's going to be laughing his ass off because he's been wanting me to talk shit so much, and this is about the best I got.
It's okay. No, I think that there's something to be said about just doing the work and then wanting to show up and, find out on the table what's going on. Because there's times where I think, some back and forth, like we don't need to be singing Kumbaya to each other or anything like that. But some of the stuff is getting a little too far, and I understand it's about right now having viral moments makes you popular. So people kind of act out a little bit and try to see if something sticks, But one of the things that bothers me the most in the sport right now is kind of like Devin turning heel, Because when I first was getting into arm wrestling was on his come up to Monster Michael Todd 1 back in 2020, but when he was supposed to face Levon, but then it couldn't happen. So they ended up being Monster Michael Todd versus Devin. And I remember watching the videos where, he would just be staring in a mirror and shaving his head and just staying cool, stoic, badass guy shit, And like, that was the Devin. I was like, oh man, this guy's so cool. And he did the same thing for the match against his first time against Levon. But then after that, I don't know what happened, but it's just like he's kind of a clown now, not like, I'm not saying like as in terms of a joke, but it's like he's kind of trying to act a little bit clowny and kind of out there. And, I was just like, with your personality, I just wonder how you take stuff like that.
I'm kind of the same way as you. It's not that I don't like the new Devin. I don't like how he acts. I don't at all. But you can't blame the guy. This is how I look at it, that arm wrestling has changed so much, just 15 years of me doing it. And that guy's been in it for frickin' 30 years or something like that. I mean, it's changed so much to where just even in the last 10, 15 years with me, that it's not about I beat the strongest guy in my weight class, in the nation. I beat the top 4 guys in the weight class. Is that a good thing? Yes, 100%. But now it's about who did you beat that has more popularity? Why do you think you see like this Auden Artem match that's going to be happening? I mean, don't get me
Yeah.
wrong. Both extremely good pullers. I mean, Auden probably whip my ass. Artem could probably whip my ass. They're both really good pullers.
It's business strategy, you know?
Exactly. I mean, everything has changed more towards business, publicity, hype, Jersey Shore, frickin' theatric. That's kind of this. And if you get money and stuff off of it, I mean, I don't blame him. If I was going to get as much money as he makes off of just YouTube for me to do stuff like that, I'd be doing it every frick. You know, I mean, why do you think I mean, look at Jamie Sheldon when I went against Jamie.
Yeah.
I went against Jamie because he's of course he's a really good known arm wrestler, but a lot he did was strategically was that okay, he is hanging with the guys that I want to arm wrestle that he either has won, get beat against, or lost, but he's a big name. Everybody knows Jamie Sheldon. So if I can beat Jamie, instantly, boom, that's going to give me your eyes. So then after Jamie, I was like, well, okay, who is the next person? And I'm not picking in my weight class. Now, I know me and you are in different standpoints, me dropping weight and stuff like that, but that's why I do it so that I get so close because I'm picking somebody out of my weight class, theoretically.
Correct, yeah.
But the next guy, I was like, okay, who is the next guy that I can go against that's going to really catapult me? And John Therian instantly popped in my head. He's a star in Arm Wars. I mean, look at it. Now he's getting East versus West matches. He's winning all these super matches all over the place. You see fucking anything about arm wrestling online, it's either Artem Taranenko or John Therian. I mean, it's always everywhere. So I was like, okay, perfect. And he's the one that picked the cap at 220. I didn't pick anything. I was just like, what do you want me to weigh? And he goes, 220. Yeah. Okay.
It's funny you say that because if I hit my goals this year, my next call out for like the next arm bender was going to be Artem on the left for that exact reason.
But I have to feel you. I have to feel your left, Andrew. I haven't, from watching you in your tournaments and stuff like that have been going on. You look like you're a completely different arm wrestler than what I arm wrestled left-handed. Like, what was that, 2 years ago?
Yeah.
Also, I'm excited to actually I'm excited to pull you after your thing. I mean, we'll both be a little. I mean, you'll be worn down more than me because I won't have to pull left-handed. But it'll be cool to see where your pressures are. I think that would be what I see out of you that match. And I'm just being honest here. You're good. I love talking to you. I love hanging out. Me and you have the same personality. But if I'm being real on everything, I think the thing that you need to get better on for him is center table.
Yeah.
You are very strong, Andrew. Every time I see you, you are very strong here. Very strong rotation. Your pronation is ridiculously strong when you're out. If you can get this part just from here to here stronger, I feel like you will be a completely different arm wrestler.
Oh yeah. No, I have for that exact thing. I have two things planned that no one's seen before for this match. So, and it's all going to be about that center table control. So I think I'm going to, even though we're training partners, I'm going to catch Dalton by surprise here because it's been something I've just been working on with my coach, and it's feeling insanely good. And I think it's going to do the trick. I think despite me and Dalton being close on strengths, I think it might just give me the edge to make it look a little bit easier than it is. So
yeah. Well, I'm excited to see it because if you get that area down, and like I said, you're a really good arm wrestler, but if you get that area down with what you have, then, dude, put it this way. If you get it down to where your side pressure is strong, in the next year, you're going to be a fucking animal. Yeah. I mean, it's crazy. Especially if you stick with it. The biggest thing I can tell you is do what I did, which was after Jamie, I picked John Therian the month after Jamie. And I asked John Therian, I said, can you do this match? Can you commit to it that it's in 1 year? You're telling me in 11 months you ain't going to book anything that day. And he was awesome enough to be like, yep, I'll do it. So as soon as that happened, I was freaking training like a madman.
That's why I think it's important to, always have the next show or the next big match in mind, because I feel it's really hard to have that dedication that you need, to have that dedication that you need without a goal. Like for me, I'm not one of those people. My training suffers significantly if I don't have a clear goal, if I don't have a match, if I don't have a tournament. And it can't just be something broad like, well, I think I'm just going to show up to Hardin and see what happens. Like, it has to be, my goal is to win 2 weight classes in Hardin. Like, I have to have something very, just well thought out and very specific that'll kind of force me to not look like a fool. And that's the reason why I put my shit out everywhere. And I challenge people and I do things all very publicly, even if it makes me look like a fool if I end up not coming up to it, because it holds me accountable, because I don't want to look like an idiot for, not showing up prepared or not whatever. So are you the type of person who needs like those kind of clear goals, or even are you able to keep up that training intensity even if you don't have something specific?
So I'm kind of, so you're speaking my language for sure. So if we go off of the goal oriented, I'm extremely goal oriented on anything I do, work, everything. Like, when you are working at a job and you get capped out on how much you make, my mind's going, okay, well then what else am I going to do? I gotta do more. I got to do more. What am I going to do? That's why I'm in a manager role. And it's awesome how my brain works for that. I have high ADHD. If you guys can't, I'm pretty mellow with you guys at tournaments. I try to keep myself enclosed, but once we get on stuff like this, I can be myself. But high ADHD. I have hyper focus, which is a part of ADHD where people, when they zone in on something, it's they have to get good. They have to do it no matter what. My wife fucking hates it, dude. Well, I'll get a piece, give me equipment, and it'll come to the garage. I'll start opening it, and she'll come. No, supper's done. And I'm like, well, I'll see you in 3 hours.
Yeah, exactly.
But and I think that's the thing with arm wrestling and work and anything you do in life, especially with my hyper focus. Like, once I get focused on something, it's dialed in. And the thing my wife says is, it sucks. She goes, it sucks with Clifton when he gets dialed in on something, because we already know that he's automatically going to be good at it. Because I guess, well, just because dude, Mario Kart, man. I sucked at Mario Kart, and I was like, I got to get good at Mario Kart. Play Mario Kart for like 2-3. No one's beaten me at Mario Kart now. I'm pretty good at Mario Kart.
No, I totally get it. Like, when I do something, even if it's nothing like, even if it's just a video game, I research all the aspects of it because I need to be good at it. I can't just be mediocre. I have to be good. Like,
my endeavor that I've been doing the last year right here. So
yeah,
I
getting into the game.
Yeah, I finally pulled the trigger to do golf, and it's like, it's been my thing. Now I got like $3,000 into freaking golf equipment, and I'm like, it's just, but I like it. I've always been raised. My dad always told me that if you're going to do anything that's in the gym, I mean, you've seen my gym. I got about 17 grand into gym equipment in my garage. I use it every freaking day, man. Every single day. And my dad always told me that if you're going to do anything in life, anything, you give it 100% and then some. No, because there's no point if you're not going to give it 100%, then stop pussyfooting around and get the hell out of here. There's no point in you doing it.
Is your dad the one who got you initially into strength and fitness and just like things of that nature?
Oh yeah. Yeah. He was, when he was
4, so I've seen his videos. He's pretty jacked too.
Yeah, when he was 45 or 46 years old, he did 535 on flat bench.
Nice.
Yeah, he was a huge power lifter, stuff like that. That guy was crazy, man. Like, you see some of my like arm wrestling dumbbell curls. I'll never forget 3rd Street Gym when I was like 9-10 years old. They had these 127.5 pound dumbbells at the gym, and my dad was in the preacher curl doing full reps of 127.5 inch or a half pound dumbbells. And I was like, that's the craziest thing ever. I mean, I still can't do full reps. My freaking tendon would pop.
Yeah, no.
No, he's pretty much, he's the guy who got me into everything strength. He did a lot of arm wrestling tournaments when he was younger, but never trained and did any of that. It was more, out drinking with buddies. Let's go to the local arm wrestling tournament, stuff like that.
Yeah, and speaking of heavy curls and stuff like that, when we first kind of like when I started messaging you towards the end of last year about training and stuff, I tried to get into those heavy table curls, but my elbow cannot like handle that. So I did start doing like just like the 90-degree kind of preacher curls is kind of like a less intense version, a lower weight because you can't use as much weight. And I'm definitely seeing big improvements, through the elbow integrity. And I would definitely like to be able to work up to those because the couple times I did do them, I could totally like just changing that angle a little bit. You can totally feel where like the way that when you're a hook puller and inside puller, it feels so much like when you're just like locked up with somebody, and that control you need to bring it back because it's fighting you on if you the way you tilt it. It can fight your supination, it can fight your pronation.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different little things you can do with it where it real like I feel like if your elbow integrity is high enough that you can handle that type of movement, especially at volume, because I think you know you need to be able to do a repeatable movement with volume in order for it to have good effect. That's a great movement. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's also too like when you're talking about your movement. So and don't think there's like you're like, oh crap, my elbow hurts, I can't do this. Dude, Niles Anderson tried doing the same thing. He said the exact same thing to me. His elbow so bad he could not do them. And but it's so when I do a curl, a table curl, a lot of people think I'm going like this, and I'm not. When I do a table curl, I'm set up at the table just like this, holding it in my hand, and I'm curling like this. I'm going off. And I'm not like that going down. I'm curling about a half-ass hammer curl, regular dumbbell curl. I'm down like this to where my hand's like that. So now, showing you that, go back and look at any of my arm wrestling matches in the last 2 years, and you ever see any match of me arm wrestling where I get into a hook, that's something that brings me over here, my arm always stops like this. And that's exactly what you were saying. I mean, it does. It just feels so comfortable to just be like, but
No, like it is. People always ask, especially the newer guys, because we have like our club is really growing. We've got a lot of newer guys and stuff in it, and then just from Facebook messages, people always want to know like what arm wrestling movement to do. And I'm into saying like try a lot of different things and then do what feels like arm wrestling to you. Like just something works really well for me doesn't mean it might be like if you're a top roller and you try to do what I do, you're probably not going to get that much benefit, Like I don't neglect the top roll movements or anything, but it's not my focus. And it's just like, so you just have to find what, and just because I'm an inside puller, my vectors and angles that I like to hit, so the movements that work for me might not work for, another inside puller like you. So I feel like it's really important to always be progressing something that feels like how you arm wrestle.
right.
And not just getting so caught up in, pronation curls and, you know, whatever curls from different angles with your fingers or hands. It's just, it needs to translate to what you do for sure.
Man, that's why, like, people saying that the gym stuff that I do doesn't, it probably is not going to translate over. I don't know, man. Like that one that I do where I'm cupping down, going like this, and I'm grabbing like this, and then I'm coming up square and then coming across. You have upping stability. So yes, I have to be here in order to feel that. But then you have lat stability, and then you have elbow side pressure stability. So then I added in, so that I think correlates crazy for me to the table. The other one that I'm starting to do now, which is actually pretty good, I did 130 pounds with cupping handle. I pull down with one arm, do not use both arms. So I pull down with one arm like this, and then I just do this. Up in, and of course you've seen my stuff. When I say 130, it's actual weight. I true scale everything. So, and that's doing like that. So now I'm like, okay, I'm working the back pressure and the lat tightness, integrity for everything. I'm working from flat wrist to here and here to here. So, okay, so realistically, if I'm putting all this into one motion, that should be good, And then the same thing. Now I'm like, okay, now I'll do a wrist wrench from the side, come across like this, and pull tons like this. that one that I'm doing when I'm pulling down, like this one that I did 170 pounds in for 2. When I went against Jamie Sheldon, it's honestly almost a year ago this month. When I went against,
it was. Yeah.
I did only 134 pounds.
Yeah. So that's a huge improvement. Yeah.
We're close to 40 pounds of increase of being able to go like this. With this one here, same thing here. Pulling back here, I did 130 before Jamie. I was like 101.
Yeah.
Like, so
that's why I tell everyone, like, I think they're really, I don't think they realize how much you leveled up. And I think they're going to be surprised because even you were training hard all last year, but like right after the Montana State, I feel like you just turned it up to another notch. And then your progression from that point on was just exploding everywhere. For sure.
And it had to, man. I mean, like, there's not a lift, man, that I'm doing that I think my lowest lift, we're talking all vectors now. Now we're talking strap back pressure, strap rise, pronation here, through the thumb pronation, back pressure. There is not lift. I think my lowest true weighted lift is like 118, 120 pounds is my lowest. Everything is 100 and pretty much 120 plus.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah.
I was never close to that. If you ask Nathan Johnson when he says, I said, here's a scenario. I said, Jamie Sheldon, 0-10. Jamie, I'm at a 5. Where do you think I am right now? And he goes about a 7.5 to 7.8.
Yeah.
So
it's like a 20 plus, like 25% improvement.
Yeah. I mean, and I was like, I agree with that. And if you look at my numbers of doing my stuff, that equals real close to about 25%.
Was there any link with John and Jamie for you to watch, or have they never pulled that?
They've never pulled.
Okay.
Yeah, they've never pulled. I know I talk with every once in a while. So he's a buddy to both of us, so he's kind of he's got to play neutral ground, but which I respect and understand that. You don't want to be like that. So but he just says the same thing like everybody else. It's gonna be a hard match, which I agree, man. I mean, John's a stud. I mean, he is who he is. But like I've told everybody, and I gave myself the same exact percentage that I gave myself with Jamie Sheldon for John, which is I give myself 45% and he's got 55%. Now, me saying that, I don't like getting cocky. I don't like being the arrogant. I don't like, being conceited or anything like that. Like I'm a guy who I'd rather be humble and rather come in with a low and do good than a high thing and look like a jackass. Like, that's why I don't talk shit either. I'm going to come and talk shit to fucking Andrew where I come and pull you in the after pull arm bender left-handed and you rip my arm off. I ain't doing that. You crazy? I'd rather just be humble about it. But telling you, Andrew, you've seen my stuff and I get it. There's a lot of elite guys who are like, nah, Cliff's going to get 3-0'd.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it.
I think like a lot of people, I think the general consensus would probably have you like as a like 70-30, so, but like you said, I do have it a lot closer because what we talked about the last time is what I think will determine whether you surprise people or not, so I think that there's like, I fully expect to probably be losing my voice around the time that your match hits the stage because it's going to be an exciting match and it's huge for our region.
Yeah, and like I've been telling everybody, win or lose, and this is how I've been looking at it. Of course, in my head, anytime anybody has been asking me if I'm going to win, Josh Wilson asks me about 80 times a week.
Yeah.
I'm like, are you going to win? And I never tell anybody, yes, I'm going to win. I always tell everybody I have to win. I'm not saying that I'm going to, but in my mind, I have to win this match. It has to be.
In the scenario that you win this match,
even if I don't win, Andrew, it's still in my head. It doesn't hurt me because I know that throughout the last year, even if I get freaking 3-0 and I got smoked, I know for a fact that I'm 25% better than what I was a year ago. So if I repeat that another year and we add on, now we're going to be 50% from that time to the future, then where am I going to, so.
Yeah. Absolutely. No. And in the scenario that you win this match, where would your sights be set for your next opponent?
Josh keeps asking me this, and I can't give him an answer And I can't give you an answer. I'm sorry. I just don't know. And I don't.
What about the scenario that you lose?
Ooh, that's a good one. If I lose, well, for sure, and I don't know how this is going to happen, but for sure, my intensity in training is going to probably skyrocket.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. I mean, Josh is doing. It's just not in my cards right now to lose. Really, it isn't, because Josh is doing a lot of good things with Armbender, and if I don't win, I'm not guaranteed a spot there. So if I don't win, I don't blame him to be like, well, Cliff, you can't arm wrestle next year. You lost. So
See,
I'm like,
I actually have someone in mind.
ooh, who?
So I think, and this honestly just might, because it's just a match I want to see. So it could be a win or lose type of thing. But
Don't say Declan.
no, not anyone in this region. So who I think would be really interesting, especially if he didn't drop weight, would be Adam Warzwinski. Yeah, Warzone.
Powerhouse.
Yeah, but I mean, he's lighter weight. He's like, I think he started competing like 187. So I think his walk around weight's like in the 190s now.
Yeah, he was 198. He did forever. When he went over to East versus West, I think he did a 205, 200, something like that. But if it was like a 210 or something like that, weight cap and stuff, that'd be pretty interesting.
I think stylistically, it has potential to be really, really cool. And I feel like we were talking about earlier, like, yeah, it's just like a manly way to arm wrestle. Like, I feel like it could be like this war, and it would be a really good way for you to test like where your hook is worldwide, because he has some links to some international people now.
Right.
So to me, that's like a really cool potential matchup.
That would be a good. Actually, I never thought of Adam, but that does intrigue me. I'm not gonna lie. So I would like to go against him. Now, don't get me wrong, win or lose. If I won, or if I beat or lost John Therian, going against Adam would be crazy. But then we have to go back to now, in my head, strategically, what is the step to do to progress me? If I go against Adam, I may get 1 or 2 steps, 3 steps. Who can I go against that I know is going to slingshot me to 5 steps? It sucks that that's the game a person has to play, but realistically, I just want to get to the point where I don't need to play that game anymore, and then I can just be like, okay, I can go against whoever the hell I want.
Well, realistically, I think beating if you beat John, that would be the sling, because that would qualify you for like East versus West level matches, just because Brandon had his shot, out there, and to me that just means that you're on the radar of the people. Like if you're going against someone that's in Brandon Celsius, for like if you're in their range, that means you're ready, for the big shows. And
yeah, I just don't. I don't know, that just makes me nervous. I'm thinking about that. That's like a little bit too out there for me, just like thinking about it. John, man, like, a lot, and it does add clout, like him getting offered to do East versus West now that he's going to do that here coming up. He put in the post, he's going to go on there. Added to our match like tremendously. I'm like, oh crap, because exactly what you said. If I beat John, well then, my name probably or should be brought up around those names then. But I also think, and how, you said it. I like what you said on, I forgot who you were talking to. Oh, it's on your predictions. I like what you said about me, or you said that, like, me losing weight to make weight and be closer to John and stuff like that, that stuff means a lot. Because it does. It does. It means a lot to me. So, like, if I beat John, the first thing in my head, just thinking about it right now, is in my head, I'd be like, do I deserve to even go to East versus West? Have I put that time in? John's done 11 super matches, 11-0, and just smoked it. Went to tournaments, did everything. Even if I 3-0 John, do I really deserve to get that East versus West match? Because I don't think I put enough time in for that. But
you got to take it if it comes your way, though.
Well, yeah, for sure. Yeah. I could be like, nah, and I'm not going to do it. We'll do it next year. But
no, I totally get that. The the feeling of whether or not you deserve it, but kind of like what we talked about earlier, you got, the people like Auden and stuff like that. You could call into question whether or not like he deserved to be at king of the table for his first big super match, but I don't think it matters. It's like, if you get the opportunity, you got to take it.
Well, 100%. Yeah. I mean, I'd go anywhere. I mean, if I had that'd be something that'd linger in my mind,
Yeah. And same thing, because being a family man too, if you can give your kids an opportunity like that, like, why would you not?
Guys that give Auden so much shit. Now, don't get me wrong. He reminds me just of his dad, of how his dad is. So he does pick me off a little bit.
I wish he was his own person for sure, but yeah.
He takes me off. But let's be real here. If my dad was Devin Larratt and I'm not saying jump on the coattails, because I think Auden's building his own name. But if I had an easier path to get to my success, why wouldn't you take that opportunity?
Yeah.
You'd be a fool not to. If your daddy owns a business and you know that you're going to be CEO someday, would you say hell with it and go get a different fucking job? No. I mean, you take the opportunities as they're given. So, I mean, he's doing everything that I feel like anybody would do.
Yeah, no, I get it. Like, he's building his brand and he's young and he's got plenty of time to build his competitive legacy, but if he wants to get to 1 million subscribers on social media first, just so that way he can actually make money at it. And because I was talking to Hunter the other night about, like, a lot of people don't understand how much it costs to compete in arm wrestling. Like, if you don't have a name and you don't have a certain pedigree behind you, you could be spending $1,000 plus to go win a $5 trophy, and or maybe nothing if you get a bad first 1 or 2 picks,
Right.
So,
not wrong about that, but like everybody, I get that so many times. People ask me, they're like, "Well, do you make any money off this?" And I'm like, "I don't do this for money, man. If I did this for money, this would be the worst freaking choice for financial."
I think we're close. I think so. I think we're close. I agree with you on that. The only thing that I kind of push towards is, like, I don't think I'm at the level fully yet, but I feel like when people invite me, like after Jamie Sheldon, I was invited all over the place to go and do super matches. But everywhere that they invited me, I'm like, "Well, you guys pay for tickets or anything?" And they're like, "Nope." And I'm like, "Do you pay for my hotel room at least?" "Nope, everything's out of your pocket." And I'm like, "Well, there's no point in me doing it. Like, I'm not gonna spend $2,000 for me to go pull somebody who's ranked like 18th. Like, it's not worth my time." Josh Wilson has done so much amazing things for me just these last 2 matches that, I mean, Josh is like the only guy that I will go to his tournament and not be like, "Hey, I need something." But he is nice enough. He gets my hotel and stuff like that. That's what he gets me, is my hotel room, which that's all I ask, because where the hell else am I going to be able to go pull calibers like Jamie Sheldon, John Therian, 9 hours away from me? People don't realize the amount of money that goes into build, like the cost to bring in these names, and because like Sanders is going to be there, RVJ is going to be there, and RVJ only pulls now if it's worth his time. And so yeah, the fact that Josh is willing to go out of his way to make sure everyone's taken care of, and he treats everyone like they're high caliber. He doesn't just be like, no. He's a great guy. He's a great promoter, and I hope he sticks with it. I know it's a lot of work on him, and he works long hours with his regular job. And so yeah, there's like his events, like the Armbender is something special for sure.
Well, it's not even the financial side of the burden for him. Andrew is, yes, okay, everything costs money, but you gotta look at it too. He's putting his reputation, self on the line. Every bit goes out to go and get sponsorships. You're selling yourself as an individual, as your personality, that you're a good person, that you can help them out. And then also too, on the flip side, yeah, you can go to a million places and get a million sponsorships and have $100,000, $200,000 tournaments. But if that tournament doesn't bring the frickin' venue or any area's money back, well, bye-bye, you ain't gonna do it again. I've done tournaments throughout the past. That's the case that runs into. If you got to look out, once you start doing this, your reputation is on the line, and you are looking out for the venue.
Yeah. Hey, we saw some big drama in the arm wrestling community this year around all that, with the payouts not getting made, and I don't want to say any names because I don't know what ended up happening with that, but we know who they are, and I'm not I never saw anything that gave conclusive evidence of who was in the right or wrong. But yeah, the reputation of those guys are shot now. They were running some of the bigger productions, and now they're not going to be running anything because who's going to show up? Who's going to show up?
Well, yeah, no one's going to show up especially if people are showing up to game day and they've spent money on tickets, everything like that, and you go, oh, sorry, I can't do anything for you. You're like,
Yeah.
what? Like some of those people who, even if you're, put it this way, you can be a top arm wrestler right now and you might not have enough money to get a ticket to go somewhere. But because you know that you're a top arm wrestler and you know that you can most likely succeed and make that extra buck to make your life easier, make your family's lives easier, you'll go and you'll put it on a credit card and go do it. Well, now you get there and they go, sorry, not going to happen. It's like, oh, well, now I just set myself back even further. Like,
yeah,
it's crazy that a lot of guys, that's why what I told everybody, I've talked to Josh a little bit about it, which he's very good at it. He's got everything down and stuff like that. But which is, don't start making hard plans and hard deals and stuff with people until that money in the bank account. And if you don't have the money in the bank account from your sponsorships, you need to have that money in the bank account of your own money to cover just in case. And that's how I did all of my tournaments. I mean, there was at one point I raised sponsorship money. I think it was like $14,000, $15,000, and I didn't get 10 grand out of the sponsorship money. I was waiting and waiting and waiting. So I went and took a loan out and put $10,000 into my checking just to get it all ready to go. I was going to pay it out of my pocket. Luckily, everything went through, and then COVID hit, and I had to refund everybody anyways.
Staying on that same subject, I kind of want to talk about it earlier, but we started moving past it. In terms of marketing out arm wrestling, do you think that for you personally, are you willing for like maybe the integrity of the rule set to drop a little bit in order to make it more entertaining for fans? Or do you think that's necessary for the growth of the sport? Or do you think there's a way to keep things kind of strict for the purists that are like fighting against that and for the sport to still succeed?
Well, so I feel like that's kind of a bold question, a big question. So I think there's enough organizations that are out there that we can do both. If you want to have a more lenient rule set, okay. If you want to have strict rule set, okay, whatever, perfect. The only thing I don't like is when they start changing rules, because like every one of them are, we're all very similar. I mean, it's just, Leonard refs, we know any daylight under the elbow, boom, foul. Somebody else refs, it's possible that they'll be like, well, there was a daylight position game, so they'll keep going. So I feel like as long as we're close to the same around, the leniency can just be by organization. Once we start changing stuff to where it's like off the wall, completely different, that's when I'm like, I don't really want to do that. Like the big thing was when like WLL came out and everything was set grips. So nothing was ever, you take your own grip, everything was set and it was go. No ready, go. That was like, holy crap. Like that's a completely different setup, completely different everything, because you can't have any load, everything's set, which is crazy because Travis and Devin would be like,
well,
grip,
you know the Garage Wars rule set? So that was my favorite rule set because I'm kind of personally of the opinion that I think part of arm wrestling's skill set should be navigating the grip and be able to get a favorable grip because that's a strength. And if you can't get a good grip, then maybe you're just not strong enough to go against that guy,
Right.
So I'm of a person that I think that reffing should be more lenient in the setup and the ref shouldn't really have so much of an impact in the setup. And in Garage Wars, what I loved is it was just you stood back from the table. The ref told you when to approach the table. And as soon as you approach the table, you put your elbow down. And as soon as your hands were locked together, they just said, go,
anything in your wrist or anything?
They had hold your hand just for like 1 or 2 seconds, just to make sure you were kind of generally there. And if no one argued or no one complained, they would just say go. So if like you had a little bit of bend in your wrist or whatever, and you didn't complain about it, it was basically on you as a competitor to air what you wanted. So the matches were like you were putting your hands down, you were getting center table, and as soon as you were center table, they were just letting go, and you just went, and it was great. I loved that because it was just like, I just want to get my hand in there and just throw down. I don't want to just, play around in the grip or go for a ref's grip.
Well, and
I
that's
just
what
want to grab and go.
sucks right there, Andrew, is like when you're saying that, like that's where I can see leniency would be nice. But when you go against those guys who are like hard freaking, we'll just say Chuck Young, good dude. I like him. He's been an arm wrestler for years. I've talked to him for freaking years. But him, we know it's going to a rest grip. We know every time that he arm wrestles, and 90% of the time it's going to a rest grip. He's going to go like this, and he's going to fiddle fuck around until it goes to a rest grip. I fucking hate that, man. Like, I think it needs to be something that, because if we know a guy likes the rest grip, well, then we know he's going to get it. I have no say. I can't do anything. All they can say is, you got to take a grip. Okay, well, he can go like this, take a grip, release, take a grip, release. Well, now we got to go rest grip. I think it's saying that. Like, I hate it. I hate it. I mean, I'm way
I don't
better.
even think there should be a ref grip. I don't think there should be a ref grip. I think it should be, a very short time. Like, if you can't get a grip in 10 seconds, strap.
I like that. I'd rather, so I like that only because I really, really like the straps. I mean, I like the ref strip too, but I really like the straps.
I think everyone should be comfortable with the strap. Like, if you have any aspiration to be a good arm wrestler, you should learn how to use the strap.
But I feel like it's the same aspect, though. I mean, if we're going to be a realist about it, it'd be the same aspect then if we had the straps. You know what I mean? Like, okay, I'm going to fiddle fuck around until I get the straps, and he has nothing to say about it.
Yeah, that's true. But I also still think that it shouldn't. I think if you can win the match without the straps, you should be able to win it with. And if you don't know how to win it with the strap, that's your fault, because obviously you're strong enough, But again, I think it also, just from because for a viewership standpoint too, fans usually love strap matches because you have to arm wrestle.
Right.
There's no, slip, this, that. It eliminates a lot of the little things where they don't, because like half of them don't even like, oh, why did the match restart? Oh, how did he get a foul? Or why are they going, so it takes a lot of that stuff out of it. So I'm a big fan. I hate, because I don't want, the refs should have no determination. And you've probably been to a lot, because some refs, nothing you can say will stop them from dropping your knuckle. I could have like a 4-inch shorter forearm, and they're going to drop my knuckle in the ref's grip. And I'll even tell them, like, hey, I'd rather you bring my webbing down and let my knuckles stay high. And they're like, nope, this is just the way I do it. And they just drop both of your knuckles, and so it's like you're forced to start in a low hand, And I'm, hey, I like my knuckle high, I'm like you, where I like my knuckle to be really high. And so it's like there's no reason, but that ref, they say this is the way you do it, and it's like, no, that's.
If you run into that in a tournament, I will bitch until I'm blue. If they, because I've had that, they start pulling you down like this. I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. I don't want to be dump wrist. I don't want to dump wrist. And they'll be like, well, you have to have the right webbing. And I'll go, same thing that you said. I go, well, I'll drop this down, or I'll move this forward, or I can go back to this. Like, but I don't want to dump wrist. You're putting me at a disadvantage. And I just won't take the grip. I mean, and they'll either have two options. They're either going to listen to what you're going to say, or they'll follow you, or give you, I mean, and in my eyes, I'll bitch until I'm blue until I get the first foul. Then after that, I'm like, okay, well, it looks like I have to do it now. But
yeah, that's the problem, because like there's nothing more frustrating to me than losing from foul outs. Like, to me, that's also another ridiculous aspect of the sport. Like, I think once you're already going, you should be able to lose. But like, if you never even arm wrestle, like if you never started pulling on each other's arms and you lose because of a foul out, I think that's ridiculous. And I think that's a such an insult to the competitor. Like, I think you can, if it's for professionalism, okay, cool, I totally go ahead and foul them out. But if it's like if a person is having trouble with a grip or whatever, there's so many solutions to that other than a foul out. Like I said, just put them in the strap. Like, you're the ref, control the match. Your job is just to make sure that no one essentially lifts their elbow, but I think they just have way too much control in the setup, and it's very frustrating.
Yeah, well, sometimes you got to look at it, though. I mean, it is a game, and games have rules. So if you, as a competitor, we know that every time that, I'm just going to use you for just use your name. We know that Aaron comes up to the table and arm wrestles that every time he gets ready and he gets pressure, he goes like this and pops his elbow. Well, then Andrew is training wrong at home and he's not training to keep his elbow down. So should the opponent be faulted for that? I think not, because there's rules to every game. If you don't want to abide by the rules, then, I mean, something like that, I feel like if you don't want to abide by the rules, then you got to get fouled out. It sucks, but it happens. You have to be. And there's no really other way around it, because yet again, that goes back to what I was saying earlier. Okay, so if there's another way around it saying, don't foul him out, just put him in the straps. Well, if the other guy didn't want the straps? What if the other guy didn't want the rest of it? It's a very controversial thing throughout years that has bothered me because it is, I complain about it, but I know it's very hard to get away from. You can only do so much to try to make it to where it's fair on each side.
That's true. Like I said, there's always a give and take to everything. And I think just where we're at right now with the momentum arm wrestling has with all the fans coming in and stuff, I think if we're going to make any big changes and maybe controversial ones, now's kind of the time to do it.
Yeah, I think arm wrestling is definitely on a high right now. It's doing very well.
And something I brought up to Brian last night that I also, because you've been in the sport for so long, I think it's absolutely ridiculous that in 2025, and 99% of organizations and tournaments, that if you weigh over 240 pounds, you're a super heavyweight. That is insane to me that there's not a 275 at a minimum and even a 308 class, because there's so much of a difference between a guy who's 250 pounds and 350 pounds, or even 300 pounds.
Well, I can tell you right now, at some point it will change. If you go back like 30 years, look at the weight classes and look how they've changed. I mean, dude, so we got 154s here. I mean, realistically, 154s, it was 1v6s back when my coach was going. That was their low. So as human beings and everybody evolves, I mean, let's be real. You see freaking high school kids that are out and about now. You're like, Jesus, kid, you're like giant. Like, what?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, so like, I think at some point here, I bet you within the next 5 to 10 years, so within the next decade, I'm betting you, we're going to see another weight class added, or stuff's going to move up. It might be the low is 176 or 165 now across the board, or something like that.
Yeah. And that's the one thing too, where I have a heart, because like I came from I wrestled in high school. So like there was weight classes all the way down to 108, and so you're used to like all these weight classes, but I see like the burden it puts a little bit on promoters and whatever, but it's really good for the long term, because the more potential weight classes, the more classes people are going to enter, and I think it gives like a little place for a lot of different people to compete in. And but I do think the most important thing, and I think one of the most, even in the big professional matches like East versus West and stuff, having those upper weight classes, there's so many people that should be amazing, but they're like 250, 260, whatever, and they're either forced to cut because they don't like their pinnacle paths are like Gennady and Levon and Monster Michael Todd and like all these like monsters, where if they even had that 275 class, they could be like top 3, if that was the limit. But then they're like 15th or whatever, because the guys are getting so big at the top now,
Well, or even from the promoter side, at least the top side, adding another weight class, I think that's a good idea to me. I feel like adding another weight class would be good. The bottom side, I don't, because you got to look at it as a promoter with, if I put in we'll just say I put in a 145 pound class, and I know that every year you can use, this sucks, but you can use women's, for instance. It sucks sometimes. Everybody wants women to show up. We want women to show up and pull and do everything. Promoters put in the money. They get the money for it. They buy the trophies. They buy the t-shirts. They do all that stuff. No women show up, or 2 show up. In my eyes, if I got $500 for first place for a class and people show up, I don't think you should be arm wrestled for $500.
No, yeah, that's kind of unfair for the promoter, for sure.
Like that doesn't make any sense. I feel like that shouldn't happen. Now I've seen that if there's 2 people in class, they'll do like a best of 5 or something like that, and go back and forth and make a super match out of it. But still, it's those circumstances there. So I think going lower weight is I don't think that's a plausible one. Maybe in between, maybe depending on what tournaments you go to. There's tournaments I went to where they're like, the hell was it? It was like 205 to like 240, and I'm like, geez, like the huge swing, man. Like
Yeah.
but yeah, I came from the same thing. I wrestled for 13 years, so I was wrestling and boxing background, and that's how I got into arm wrestling.
Yeah, no, and that's like another area where there's give and take, because again, that makes it actually worse for the fans, because there's more shit for them to track, and keep. Well, he's the best. Oh no, but not in that weight class. He's the best in that, and they're used to like traditional sports where it's like, oh well, this team beat that team, so they're the best. There's just one conference, that everyone competes in, and so I think there's a lot of things we need to figure out. But one thing I hope doesn't happen, and I think arm wrestling might be safe from this, just because, well, I'm hoping anyway. But like when strongman got big, people stopped caring about the other class. Only like when you think of strongman, no one even knows that there's heavyweight, middleweight, lightweight classes.
Because freaking Brian freaking Shaw and Eddie Hall
Yeah.
giants. That's all they care about. But
Yeah.
realistically, look at arm wrestling, man. I mean, really look at it. The open class is what everybody wants to see.
Yeah, that's the only one they care about.
That's it. I know it sucks. Now, don't get me wrong. Ingen is doing really good. Knuckles Up is doing really good. Josh and Armbender is doing really good, which for promoting and showing these guys who are under the open class, you're in the 98s, 220, so on and so forth. But you look at like the number one freaking guy. I mean, look at Devin, dude. How many times has Devin decided to go up to the super heavyweights open to win? Then he drops back down. He wins stuff there and wins this thing, but nobody really cares as much about that. Especially now when we got somebody that's like Levon, who's on top. Nobody gives a shit if the 220 guy is beating somebody. They want to know Levon.
Exactly. Exactly. And see, like that's a good and a bad thing, because like obviously if it grows the sport and it gets people in, because now it's becoming a spectacle, and that's honestly what you need as a sport to get big, is a spectacle, then that's awesome. That's great. But then it means that sponsors and stuff like that, like big sponsors like supplement companies and clothing companies, they'll never get behind this, because they're only going to put money. They're like, oh, we don't want to waste our sponsorship money on the people who aren't getting, the views or whatever. So I hope there's a way we could find that kind of keeps the other classes relevant. And I'm hoping it's a little bit more like boxing, where there's just enough of a lineup of people who promote themselves and put them out there and stay interesting to people and make fans of the fans, because there's a lot of fans of arm wrestling, but there's not a lot of fans of arm wrestlers.
Right. And I think Ingen Terzi's doing, I feel like in my eyes, Ingen Terzi's probably doing the best when it comes to knowing, like wanting to cheer on an arm wrestler.
Yeah.
For all. Knuckles Up, Josh and stuff like that, they're doing really well here in the US. But I mean, realistically, those are the guys now that new, what is it? Ian Carnegie, I think it's Carnegie and Canada doing that Mac, kind of doing stuff like that. Like,
and it's gonna be part of the Shaw Classic now too.
Yep. In my eyes, for arm wrestling to survive, we need something that's strict WAF, WAF stuff. We know only open guys, stuff like that. But we also need the little guys, dude. We need the Knuckles Up. We need the Armbender. And I'm not saying Ingen Terzi's little. I mean, that's mainstream, but we need those guys for the sport to grow. It has to happen.
Speaking of Brian Shaw and the Shaw Classic potentially being in it, do you know what for like 2 years now, like one of my biggest like arm wrestling nerd dream things would be if Rogue made an arm wrestling table. Imagine with like 3x3 uprights with cross drilled holes, so you could put the attachments through the holes, and that would be so sick. Like a Rogue arm wrestling table. Well, man,
look at back in the day in Strongman. That was one of their things. That was who's the guy who broke his arm?
Magnuson or something.
Yeah. And then I mean, that was a legitimate thing, I think, back then. That arm wrestling was one of the competitions.
Well, the problem is one of the strongmen in that competition just happened to also be the European champion. And you put an extremely strong human being against a guy who knows what he does and pulls you outside your shoulder.
Right. Yeah. that you're looking for
Yeah, because in arm wrestling, you break your own arm. It's your force going the opposite direction.
you. I have said to so many people. So I was in Florida. I went to just in December, and my sister works in a bar, and I went there. They had a professional arm wrestling table just sitting in this bar, and I was like, "What? Like
Just for
what
like
is,
randoms to come up and use.
yeah, just sitting there." And I'm like, "What is going on here?" And here
It's
they
hard to
arm
even get an
wrestle.
after pull anywhere, and they just have an arm wrestling table set up.
So it's evidently, so I guess the owner of the bar, he loves arm wrestling, so they pull out the table when everybody's there, and they arm wrestle.
Wow.
Like, oh, that's awesome. But I started pulling with some guys and stuff and showing them things. And, right away you run into those guys. You're like, oh, give it everything you got. And I'm like, I'm not doing that. I'm like, I'll tell a person, I'll be like, well, just make sure you're careful. And right away, when you tell somebody, make sure you're careful, they're like, who the fuck do you think you are to tell me what I'm doing? I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't want you to break your own arm or break your arm. And they're like, oh, I'm not going to. I'm like, you don't understand, man. Exactly what you said is what I tell everybody, which is, I'm not breaking your arm. You'll break your own.
Yeah.
I mean, you're trying to move something that doesn't move, and you're giving everything you got and putting yourself in awkward positions. Like a lot of people don't know. It's like it's less than 15 pounds to break your humerus.
Yeah. For rotational force, yeah, it's only like 15 pounds. Yeah.
Yeah. So like that alone, that statistic, I know a lot of people don't want to hear that statistic, but it's a really good one for people to know, because that just tells you how much an arm wrestler has to train and be on point, know his angles, know their points and everything to not be an injury.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to condition your bones and your tendons and everything to make sure everything's good. I mean, that just shows you how crazy arm wrestlers are. 15 pounds to break a bone, and you just seen me do 170 pounds like this.
Yeah. I think if they did studies like on like in-depth studies with like the electrodes and different things, and they showed the forces that go through, like you take some of the top guys, I think they would be surprised to find out how much outside the norm arm wrestlers become, just because of all the damage. And man, the calcification, I don't know if you saw the Monster Michael Todd medical videos when he was going through his arm break and the healing.
That right?
It's crazy.
It's nuts. And you know what? You don't even have to just ask any newbie how out of the norm arm wrestling is. Ask them after 2 days of pulling how much pain they're in.
Yeah.
What sport can you think of that you start and you can't freaking move your arms or pick up a glass of water after practicing? There isn't one.
Yeah. T-Rex arms for like a week.
There's been many a nights, Amanda, my wife, she's seen me in the fetal position in the shower, just like, oh my God.
Yeah. No, it's bad, but it's also part of like, you need a specific personality because of that to really enjoy it. And when you do, you get addicted, because it's like, there's that training pain that, from like doing a hard workout where you just, it feels good, but then the arm wrestling takes it to a whole nother level, because you almost start like, you don't feel like you did enough if you don't have that. And so like you become a little, what do they call it? Like almost like a masochist in a way. Where like, how much damage can I do but still recover? And it's just you're trying to.
Well, and if you're in that, like for instance, yesterday, I watched yours and Hunter's thing. I watched a John Therian match. I watch John Therian's matches like 8 million times a day. But I trained 3 separate occasions between 30 minutes to 60 minutes each time. Like, just because you're just watching something, you're doing something, instantly you just get that freaking fire, and you're like, I got to go do it. And then that's when what you just said kicks in. I go out there, I do something super heavy that I didn't think I was going to do, and I'm like, I wonder if I can do more.
Yeah, no, that's like if I have like YouTube going on the side and like one of those shorts come on of like Hermes or Michael Todd like hitting a PR, then I'm like, find myself going down to my garage. I'm like, okay, well, let's see what kind of number I can hit on this. And, I just even end up doing like a little mini workout, because you're like, oh, my forearms feel pretty good. Maybe I can do some wrist cupping or some pronation or what, like it just turns into this thing. Yeah.
I got stations all over by my couch. I got a pronation belt on a loading pin that sits there. I got a cable railing because I have an open floor concept. In my cable railing, I have bands with carabiners tied to it to where I have a multi there, and I pull one. I just sit here and watch stuff. Like,
Your wife must be a saint. She lets you put all
oh,
that
dude,
stuff everywhere. Yeah.
she's like biggest fan, man. I won't give her so much props because she does absolutely hate that I eat, sleep, and breathe. Pretty much, she's so sick of hearing the name John Thiering for the last year.
I bet.
She's like my biggest fan. I mean, with support and stuff, she's always pushing me and making me get out there. If I'm ever, which with me, I'm rarely ever slacking off. I'm rarely ever quitting and saying, no, I'll do it tomorrow. And if I do get those, she knows that that's not me. And she's like, get your ass outside. Go and get it done. Do it. And I'm like, okay, all right, I'll do it. So
For sure.
a good co-partner to really push you to keep your roots in.
Yeah. Oh, your roots. Yeah. Heck yeah. No, that's really great to hear, man. And I think that's also a really great place to call it here for the night. And I want to say before we end the conversation, is there anyone you want to shout out, or is there anything you want to say to people?
Well, I mean, for sure, Josh Wilson, Armbender. I mean, without any of this stuff, dude, it wouldn't be possible for you, me. Without him and his dedication, like, we owe him a ton. Like,
For sure. 100%.
and that is going to be even better, which I don't know how it can get better, but he's a miracle man, so he makes it happen.
He will.
Other than that, I mean, all the people competing, I hope everybody's safe and does well, and I'll be there cheering you on and cheering Dalton and cheering on your guys' match, dude. I'm pretty pumped for your guys' match because you're the only match that I didn't even vote for because I like both you guys. I don't know who's gonna win that match. That's
what everyone's saying.
It's gonna be a great match. But other than that, yeah, I mean, I hope John Thiering's training because I'm bringing everything. Might not win, but he's getting everything I got.
Oh, I know he is, and I really look forward to that match. For everyone who tuned in, thanks for watching. I hope you learned a lot. If there's anything you want to let us know, or if there's anything you want to know about Clifton we didn't get to, let us know down below. And I'd appreciate it if you could like and subscribe, and we will catch you guys next time.